attack your base. That's one. Two is it's not giving you an advantage. It's not going to give you. It's not going to give you a press Don.
Okay, all right.
Well, I left yesterday when we did this, man. Okay, stop doing it.
So I can tell you why they're stupid one by one.
Actually, let me point out the advantages of that.
Don, come on.
Can I point out the advantages real quick? Just a few. One is that one side of the moon is basically
no one's going to attack your base. Great reason to have a base.
So nobody is going to see it because you can be on the other side. Literally, you can have perfect shielding, no satellite, no nothing, just perfect shielding, unless it's on a higher orbit. But that's the moon is a light second away, which is insane, the distance. And all those pictures that show you like the moon is really close by is bullshit. It's not. It's pretty fucking far away. So you can launch nukes, literally nukes, without the infrared satellites detecting it. You could literally do that. Nobody would have a warning. You would get like first strike on them before their satellites even lit up. That's the shit that you can do with having a moon base. You can have multiple strike zones, because again, it takes time for the missile to reach location. You have like essentially a moving nuclear missile silo that can launch missiles undetected and that is basically impervious to any attacks. So let's just say, for example, the U.S. has a military base on the moon, and some country like Russia tries to blow U.S. up. Just say, for example, World War III or some shit happens. The U.S. will then have its moon base all nice and tight, clean. It can fire a retaliatory strike at Russia. You know what I mean? I'm just saying there's so much advantage to it, and of course there's launching satellites, again, spy satellites without any nation knowing. If you already we have a secret the XB2 or something. We have a secret spaceship that does secret missions. We don't know what those missions are because they're classified. So I mean, it's possible that there is a moon base, and considering that we haven't been to the moon for so fucking long, it makes me wonder. Is there something?
But we have two problems with that: the firmament dome, number one, and number two, the fact that we can only live on a flat, level, motionless plane. So unless the moon is some sort of flat, luminous disk, we wouldn't even be able to put anything on the thing without it falling off, since gravity is not this mechanism that pulls anything to the center of a ball.
Please control yourself and do not attempt to respond to that nonsense. Now, about the nukes being undetectable.
So, like when a nuke is launched, it gives infrared radiation because of the gases are coming out at really high temperature because of the ignition, and since it's being launched at the other side of the moon, you're not going to see it.
Yeah, but what about the radar signature over the days it takes to get to Earth?
It won't take days. Actually, it will. It could, but you could have shield. It can take a day. It can be faster though. But yeah, a day. It can be shielded. We have amazing stealth technology when it comes to radar, and just
how is that an advantage over something that's just in orbit? And this is ignoring the fact that militarizing space is illegal under international law. But
I agree, but fuck international, and nobody fucking pays attention to that.
But how is, I don't understand. If you were to stick these, rods of guard or whatever in orbit, I don't see how a moon base is better than that.
So the one big difference between a satellite in orbit that contains nukes and a base is that the satellite can be shot down very easily. It's probably one of the first things that's going to happen if there's a world war. One of the first things that's probably going to happen is as many satellites as you can imagine is going to be shot down. Like as much as you can imagine. The first layer is going to be in space with satellites being shot down one after another. And that's just expected. But the moon, on the other hand, not many people can even touch it. Can't even touch it.
But you can't just shoot down a satellite that contains nukes, right? You don't know where it's going to land.
You can if you do the math. Yes, you can do the trajectory. It's a ballistic trajectory, and it's not that complicated. The math. If you have a computer and plug in the formulas, it'll.
Hold on a minute. So you're gonna somehow shoot down this satellite, and you will be able to do that and predict where the debris is going to land.
No, and that's not what I said. I think there was a miscommunication there. I'm saying that the missile that's launched from the moon will have its trajectory very well calculated. I don't know which. If you're talking about the debris that's going to be in the
I'm saying
In
you
the
say
face
you
because
saying
of
that
all
you
the-
could just shoot down satellites.
Yes, you can.
I'm saying if you shoot down satellites that contain nukes,
Okay.
that those nukes could land anywhere.
It won't blow up though. You know that, right?
Well,
It won't blow up.
Well, you don't know that, but
Actually, we do.
even if we assume that that's true, it doesn't really solve the, it doesn't get rid of a problem, does it?
Kind of does. It kind of does because it'll basically mostly disintegrate in the atmosphere. If it falls down, what's really going to happen though, actually, in most cases, is that it won't fall down. It will stay in orbit in almost all cases. But let's just say somehow it lost enough energy for it to, start falling down, and actually land. If that were to happen because of the trajectory of the attack or whatever, most likely the missile will burn out, and that's it. That's it. There's no explode for a nuke to explode. There has to be very precise timing of certain mechanisms going off at the same time, like the ignition. Not the ignition. Sorry.
It doesn't need to explode.
the
Detonator. It doesn't need to, does it? If you've got, I think it would be. I don't know who would make that decision. Who would make? I don't know who would make the decision to shoot down satellites that we knew contained radioactive material.
Everybody would do that. Most likely, what they would do though is maybe fire it at a trajectory which was keeping.
I don't know. I don't know how you know that, but I'll assume that you're really, really clever and you.
Why wouldn't you? If it's a target, right? It's an enemy satellite target.
Because it's dangerous. Because it's dangerous, and it could put radioactive debris over large areas of the Earth's surface where you don't want it to be.
Oh, so do you know how many nukes haven't exploded? It's thousands.
Is it more?
How does that solve the problem for you? How does that mean that what I just described couldn't happen?
The problem is that, let's say, I don't know, 20 or 30 nukes disintegrating in the atmosphere won't cause too big of a fucking problem, okay? It won't. But most likely, as I said, most likely it won't even reach the atmosphere. It will stay in orbit, it will be out of commission. And if you're an enemy, what you want to do is not have a functional nuclear satellite. You want to make it as damaged or as dysfunctional as possible. That's your goal.
Well, I don't buy either idea as being very good.
Why would you want to shoot it from the moon, though? You could shoot it from the surface.
No, you use the moon to shoot the Earth, right? As the moon is for the Earth. It's perfect base that can blow up the Earth with perfect precision. Really good. Also you have potential energy. A lot because you're already high up. So you can do rods of God kind of shit, but even more. You can do a lot of crazy shit if you have a military base on the moon. But the best thing is that no one can find it. Basically, it's like
but like the Chinese, they've got hypersonics, so they can stay within the atmosphere, but they travel so fast. There's no missile defense that can close in on them. So, actually, why wouldn't they just use that?
We have some crazy shit. I think we're building hypersonic missiles. I don't know. Everything is classified.
The Chinese and Russians are far ahead of the U.S. in hypersonics. There's articles all over.
That's okay. So that's what I've heard too. But when you factor in that our spending, our military expenditure is like more than all the 10 other countries combined or some crazy shit. Don't you think it's more likely that we have something, but it's just not public? I think it's far more likely.
It's possible, but the Russians, they were far ahead of us in torpedo technology. We never even caught up to them. I mean, they had super cavitating torpedoes long before the U.S.
That was really, really badass. Going, was it 80 knots or I forgot? It was crazy shit.
It's like 200 something miles an hour in the water.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's pretty fucking nuts. Yeah, they have really good tech. Russians are really good, actually, at military tech. But if you pay attention, though, most Russian military advancements are defensive, and a lot of U.S.'s is actually offensive because we do actually go and invade nations all around the world, and we have military bases all around the world, while Russia has like 2 bases or some shit around the world. But we have
Hermes.
Yeah,
let's do a little epistemology. How do you know any of this shit?
How do I know any of this shit? Public documents, most of it. And the rest, I just use logical deduction.
You got some links for us that we can look at and verify what you're saying?
Military bases, yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to see military bases, what else?
No, all the other stuff about, satellites and blowing shit up and, launching from the moon and how do you, and how is it more possible or more reasonable to assume one thing over the other? All those things.
Okay, so what do you want me to source exactly? Because what I was saying was argumentation based on reason. It wasn't like
No, it wasn't.
NASA said
Based on
that there was a
baseless
base on the
assertion.
moon. I don't know. I was. Oh my god.
But
I don't
you said
know.
it's more likely, right?
I don't know if there's a base on the moon. I don't know. I'm saying it.
Yeah, you have no idea.
There's
right?
got to be though. There's
I
they
no idea.
have one.
They went to the moon
And I
in the
can prove
60s.
that
They had to
logically.
have gone back.
I don't have to source anything. It's a very reasonable thing to do.
Why is it reasonable?
All right. Why is it reasonable? As I said, multiple advantages. One, stealth. One, having a way to retaliate if someone were to strike. And we have submarines for that, which is good, like hidden submarines for retaliation. So in case the mainland is attacked, the submarines can fire a retaliatory strike. But let's just say
you're just saying more things again. You're not saying any reason why you believe any of these things.
What else do you want?
Some evidence that it's actually happened.
I never made the claim that it has happened. What the fuck are you talking? What are you on?
Fine, whatever.
I think there was a
Continue with
little
your
joking
fantasies.
in here about maybe there was definitely a base on the moon. But it quickly shifted to just the viability of it.
Yeah, viability is all I'm arguing here. It's viable. It's very, very viable. That's it. I don't know if there is.
It's perfectly viable if you ignore all the reasons it's not.
If I was,
Yeah, it's perfectly viable when you ignore all the reasons it's not viable.
Maybe there's a kernel of truth here, Mr. Mackey, that we're missing. Maybe.
Or maybe not.
I don't like speculations. That's fine. I'm actually on you there a little bit. I'm not too big a fan of speculations. Sure, let's talk about something concrete. Like
I'm with Hermes on this. I'm with Hermes on this. If you can't see the advantage of having a base on the moon, it's ridiculous. You're being ridiculous.
Well, the thing is, what's
Jeremy agrees with you. That's a really bad sign.
Well, with the firmament in the way and the fact that we can only live on a flat level plane, I don't believe in a moon base. I bet at best it's probably somewhere beyond Antarctica or under the ice. They're labeling that the moon.
Who lives on a flat level plane?
I don't even believe in space, and I know space the moon base would be more advantageous.
You also believe that eugenics is a wonderful thing, Jeremy, so let that sink in for a minute.
Eugenics?
Jeremy wants to create smart camps for everybody on the planet, remember?
I mean, the inherent idea of eugenics is not bad. The reason why it was bad is because it was bad science when they implemented it.
I got to tell you what, I didn't like
Institutes
guy
of
at first.
excellence, please. Institutes of excellence.
I didn't like this Hermes guy at first, but I'm starting to like him more and more.
Oh, cool. Yeah. The basic idea. Let's talk about something else though. Coriolis effect. Can we do that? We'll talk about Coriolis effect because
spin ether. Yes.
Okay. All right. So, does anyone know? Does anyone have an explanation for the Coriolis effect?
What's the Coriolis effect? I never heard of that before.
It's basically when there is. It's the effect that's responsible for storms spinning in opposite directions on the opposite side of the globe.
I'm sorry. I retract the clap. I'm joking. Sorry, man.
It's winding you up.
And to explain this is really simple. Okay, if you're on the equator, okay, I know you don't believe in the globe, but I'm asking you to entertain the idea.
How do you know that? Hold on. Stop. Oh, almost everyone here believes the Earth is spherical. Almost everyone.
Good. Okay. So if you're at the equator,
we all understand.
So you're gonna go on and explain to us something that we already know about.
All right. I'm sorry. All right. Sure. I won't.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, from a flat Earth perspective, you can explain the Coriolis effect like stones in a pond. The ether is the water flowing through the pond over the Earth, and the stones in the wake of the flow of the ether would be like the sun, moon, and stars over the equator, leading to divergent Coriolis swirl as the ether swirls over the Earth.
The ether swirls now? What does this ether not do?
Yes.
Really?
There's a couple.
Like you didn't say the pudding batter bit, Lemon, and that's my favorite bit.
So. Right.
Pudding batter. I never heard that one.
Sorry. That is a bit more illustrative. That is true.
Cake batter. I don't know. Is it some sort of batter, you say, don't you?
I don't know. It makes me hungry every time Lemon brings it up, Jim.
Yeah, I like that description the best.
The cake batter of the ether, yes. A thick, viscous, syrupy thing with sprinkles and sugar. Delicious.
So the ether's thick? Wow.
Oh, yes.
It's a magical force, huh? That's kind of cool. The answer for everything, the ether. Mini phenomenon, the ether.
It's sort of like gravity, but better.
It seems like only like gravity, but much, much worse. But I guess that's different.
Gravity, but better. But wait, there's more.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw in a couple of kitchen knives with it.
But wait, there's more. Like sham wow.
You need a rotating object for Coriolis, right?
Yes.
Rotating or different moving?
Well, it's just an
a
appearance,
spinning
right?
Yeah,
deflection.
rotating for that word, I guess, huh?
Well, you need a rotating globe of some sort, because a rotating cylinder wouldn't have a Coriolis.
Well, if it's on the top of it, it would.
Well, okay.
If it's on the top of the cylinder, if you place it up and rotate it, then it would become Coriolisable.
Sure.
It's just an apparent deflection, right? It's not a real deflection unless it's on the surface, right?
There's two schools that split about the Coriolis in the flat Earth community. Some people say that it's an apparent deflection, and QE will bring out the scientific citations that say it's apparent with no physical effect, essentially. And then you have the Globers that say, you know, that it causes physical effects, this spinning deflection.
Well, do they? I mean, are they saying it causes a physical effect if there's an object touching the object that's rotating? That I understand. Like a ball on a rotating disc, the ball will be affected by it. But a ball above the disc, going over it, won't be affected by it. You know, so that's the apparent part.
It's pretty much split between does it have physical effects or not.
Yeah, physical effects on a medium too, right? I mean, if there's something, I just don't get how they think it's attached to the object, like a gas that's attached, and then when you rotate it.
Who's the they in that statement?
Heliocentrics.
Well, then you need to try to understand what we're saying better. Then, sorry, man, because we're not saying that.
A better name
the only thing is because I'm one. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say better name for heliocentrics is just the scientific community, because the entire scientific community is heliocentric.
Well, no, I'm not going to put all that in there.
Oh, there are some detractors who are at least geocentrist. They still hold to the ball, but they say that it's at the center of everything while everything rotates around it. There are a couple detractors.
No, they're not.
Well, and it's funny because you're saying that there's every single person that believes in science must believe the heliocentric model.
If they are following the scientific method accurately and they're following the logical arguments accurately, you know, the strongest inductive argument currently that we have based on our evidence is a globe Earth. That's the fact.
This guy doesn't know what the science. What's the three constituent parts of an experiment? Scientific method, boy. Let's hear it.
You have a hypothesis.
Don't try.
No. Fuck it.
Please don't try.
Three constituent parts of an experiment. Go.
I don't really give a shit about your three constituent parts. I know how the scientific experiment goes. You use a hypothesis, then you isolate the variable, right? You attempt.
Oh God, you're so wrong.
All right, you know what? Go screw yourself.
You think a hypothesis?
You didn't have the observation part or whatever. Observe a natural.
I didn't reach the third part, by the way. So you have a hypothesis. You isolate the variable. You observe the results, and then if the results match your hypothesis or corroborate it, then you might have a theory. That's it. And a scientific theory, unlike a regular theory, is backed by well-verified experiments.
All right, what are the three? Experiment would be still an answer. What are the three constituent parts of not the scientific method? What are the three constituent parts of an experiment?
Again, I don't know what you mean by that. I experiments, the main parts of any scientific experiment is the isolating the independent variable.
I nominate Hermes for the global.
I don't know what you're trying to say, man.
I nominate Hermes for the global birth answer bot.
Let me just Google that shit if you want me to get it for you. Here. Oh, Google here.
The fact that you don't know it. The fact that you don't know it is worrisome.
It's asking about independent or something like that. I don't know.
The first observation, right?
Is he Googling it now? That's hilarious.
The three constituent scientific ways.
I'm getting this, yeah.
Yeah, what was it? There's three constituent scientific ways.
Oh boy!
Try not to let them suck you into.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, it's all right. I don't mind it. I'm just curious.
You see, it needs wardens. You see, it needs protection because these guys are going to just fall right into the rabbit hole, the trap, of real science, and they don't want that. They want to keep this this pseudo thought. And he's been
letting it continue, Kimo, aren't I? And I could easily step in here easily, couldn't I?
No, he's been warned by McKay, Scott, don't get into it. You've just said don't get into it. But one of these days he's going to have to get into it. One of these days he's going to have to recognize, hey.
We should put Hermes and Kimo in a separate room, and then they could create a perpetual motion machine.
Well, it's Jeremy. Jeremy wants to know where the constituent parts. So, Jeremy, I mean, carry on.
Maybe Jeremy could join him.
Yeah, Hermes, the first observation of the heliocentric would mean, okay, the sun is not moving. But when I observe the first observation, I see a heliomormetric, that I'm measuring the movement of the sun, not a heliocentric. Does that make sense? So if you're saying, oh, it's a heliocentric model, well, okay, my first observation is the sun's moving. And you say, well, no, that's apparent. Well, how do you just disprove my observation that there's the sun here, and then by the end of the day, it's going to come on this side? That's the first observation, right?
Sure. And are you familiar with optical illusions, for example? Are you familiar with that?
Oh, yeah. Every time we look at the horizon, we're familiar.
Okay, so if you observe something, and it appears, it's very important, it appears such a way, it doesn't mean necessarily that it is such the way it appears.
Like boats.
So it is actually not bad to observe the sun and then make a what do you call it? A theory that
here's the thing.
Let me just finish. Say the Earth is at the center. Okay, fine. That's what it appears as, right? Normally speaking, and that's why we believed in that for the longest period of time, because at that time, actually, there were a few people that went against the grain there, against the Catholic Church or whatever. But generally speaking, back then,
millions.
It was like hardcore flat Earth, basically. That was like the main thing that was dominant back then. And if you went against it, you would either be isolated, burned, or
it was more geocentric. It was more the geocentric view.
Yeah, it was very geocentric.
The sun moves. So it wasn't really about the terrain or shape of the Earth. It was the sun is moving over us.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was more important.
And then we this is very I'm not an astronomer. I don't really know the calculations that was done. I do have a really cool program though, SpaceX, which is really good to help you understand things.
You have an astronomer's voice.
Space engine, sorry. But I'm not.
You have the voice of an astronomer.
Thank you. There's an app called Space Engine. I highly recommend it for anyone that wants to see the model of the universe based on our current understanding of it. It's really, really cool. You can see everything, and everything mathematically perfectly models out, which is
my observation is there's the sun, it's moving towards me, and then it goes away, and if I follow it, then I can catch up to it if I go fast enough. So then I'm saying, I can just redo this. So am I just going under a moving line?
I mean, it appears that way for sure. I mean, there's no one's going to deny that. If I start spinning in a circle, it's going to appear like the room is spinning around me, not me. But
if I'm still, but you're not moving. You're staying right perfectly still on a beach. You're not moving at all until you want to move. Then you can go catch up to the sun.
I don't know what you're trying to say, but what?
I'm saying it's. You say it appears that way.
Yes.
I wouldn't deny that, but you're denying it. You're denying that the sun moves.
The sun is stationary relative to the Earth.
Yes, but you just said I wouldn't deny it that it looks like it's moving because
Yes,
but you
I won't
are.
deny that it looks like it. It does look like it is.
Yeah, deny it. Deny every impulse, every intuition.
I'm not denying. I'm saying it does actually look like we are in the center and it's spinning
But-
around. For sure. Just
okay,
like when you're sitting in a car, it looks like the road is coming to you. Is the road actually coming to you? No, it looks like you're stationary. It looks like your car is stationary. And it looks like the entire world is coming towards you. That's what it really looks like. If you
Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Something
A plane is moving towards you. Is that plane really moving towards you?
I mean, this is all relative, right? Moving towards me relative to, if a plane is relative to me, yes. If a plane is moving towards me, then yes, it is closing in on.
But the only thing is, the car is an enclosed system. The Earth is not. So your example falls flat on its face right there, some pun intended.
How? How does it explain?
Because the car is enclosed, the Earth is not.
How does that? How does it connect? Logically, what's the logical connection there?
Unless the Earth is enclosed, it would not move as one unit. So unless you can point to a firmamental barrier that is enclosing the Earth, your example is null.
Closed system. First of all, there's no such thing as an actual closed system in the universe. There really isn't. Everything, literally everything, is connected.
Then your example is even more removed from reality.
Closed system. So again, I don't see the relevance here of how that.
Don't use a closed system as a car then.
How does that? Yeah, exactly. That too. How's that debunk? I don't see the logical connection.
You just used a closed system. You just used a car.
How does that debunk it though? I don't see.
So where is the firmamental barrier for the Earth so that everything that is disconnected can stay as one unit and move as one unit? Where is the Earth's firmamental barrier like in the car? Where is it?
Wait, you're assuming that you need a barrier for some reason. What?
Yes.
No,
otherwise, the air would move one way and the Earth would move another way. Because when both the air and the Earth move, they move at different rates. They do not move it as a unit unless they are firmamentally contained.
Okay, so here's another one where it doesn't require a car. Okay, your eyes, when you're walking, it actually looks like, hey, the world is moving towards you even though you're moving forward. It's a perspective thing. It's got nothing to do with an open or closed system. I'm so lost here. Can someone help me?
Right. Why would the Earth never looks like it's moving towards you? Because you move over the Earth.
No, it always looks like it's moving towards you. Always.
Yeah,
always.
Because you move. But if you're staying still, the Earth and you jump or you hover, the Earth doesn't look like it's the same thing.
If you jump, it looks like the Earth is moving away from you for a little bit.
And there's also an obvious power that's moving you, your legs moving. The Earth does not have the power to move because it is way too big. It is on pillars on top of a watery deep. There is no power to move it.
There's no torque on me. There's no torque on my inner gyroscope on me. There's no torque.
All right, so your basis for that is the Bible. So I'm sorry, I can't take that too seriously.
And it's also common sense because I don't feel movement. Your basis is, atheism and twisting your mind around the concepts of men, despite the fact that we don't feel movement.
All right.
Yeah, they're saying the inner gyro optics sense it, but our inner bodies of what we're accustomed, we just can't detect.
Do you know why?
I feel like our bodies would be off.
Do you have any idea? I'll explain why. It's really
you're
simple.
saying
really
torque.
Really
you're saying torque. Hold on, real quick. You're saying torque of the Earth will cause a precession on a physical object such as the gyroscope, but it won't cause a physical torque on our bodies.
No, it does. It does.
What about a boat? What about a motion of water? Will the water bunch?
We're experiencing it at all times. We're experiencing acceleration at all times, but just keep this in mind, okay? There are 3,600 seconds in an hour, okay? And there's a 15-degree shift. And also it matters where you are on the if you're close to the equator, it's actually higher, the acceleration, which you experience. But the point is that because it's a 15-degree shift over an hour, what is that? Or per second? And you can simulate this with a car too. Like get in a car, right, where the angle is just enough where it's shifting by 15 degrees per hour, and tell me honestly if you can notice the rotation if you're blindfolded. You can't. I know you can't because that's beyond what our sensitivity is. It's just beyond it.
No, but there should be a physical. There should be a physical force, though. You're saying there's a physical force on an object that moves it. You're saying a physical torque will move this.
There's acceleration because it's rotating. So velocity is changing because the direction is changing. So the speed is constant, you could say, but the angle is constantly changing. Right? That's the only thing that's happening, and that is detectable. You can always basically detect acceleration. That's not hard.
Then if you put this gyroscope at the poles, you wouldn't detect as much degree, right?
It would be the
be unreliable.
It would be less. No, it won't be unreliable, and it will also correlate to the geometry of the sphere and which line on the equator it's which horizontal line it's on. I forgot what they're called. Longitudinal and what was the other one? Whatever. Yeah, it will alter where it is, but it will correlate to the geometry of the sphere. And the point is, it's a measurable effect.
Not the sphere, I thought it was the rotation.
Yeah, the rotation on a spherical surface, which is causing a change in direction, angle.
The rotation of the ether.
An angular shift. So, like, okay, so if you're on a sphere and you're moving in a straight line, you move tangent to the surface. You will continue moving, straight. But it is the change in direction really that's causing the that's measurable. The acceleration is measurable, and there is a measurable decrease in weight, if I remember correctly. If you go on the equator, it's very little. It's like next to impossible. But I believe you can, because it's, again, you would need like laser tools and shit to, how like if there's a centripetal force, how that works, right? You keep on going in line, the distance increases. It appears as if something is pulling you away from the center. So at the equator, that's the highest, which is also, by the way, is responsible for the Coriolis effect, which we kind of skipped over. But yeah, you can measure it. This is a very measurable
effect.
It's
not affected by depth or altitude?
Actually, altitude will affect it, but it's negligible unless you can, like, it's negligible. You can't, basically.
Well, so
and also, you launch yourself to the Earth too, by the way. So if, let's say, you were gonna increase your altitude, you would have to make sure that you're locked to the Earth.
Wouldn't the deeper you go towards the center of mass, the stronger the pull, and so the harder the declination would be to achieve?
The harder the pull, if the deeper you go, the strongest point of gravity is the surface. Not deep down. The more deep down you go, the weaker it becomes. The reason it becomes weaker is because you will have less mass underneath you, and you will have more mass above you. And so it's just not a good idea.
Wait a minute. If I'm digging through a sphere, if I'm digging through a sphere and I go through the top, right? I'm going down.
Yes, you're digging a hole to the center.
Okay. And you're saying there's, by the time I get to half of the sphere, wouldn't there be half and half of gravity? Or half pull?
The point that it will be equal on all sides will be when you're in the center, but when you're in the, like, halfway down to the center, there will definitely be a noticeable decrease in gravity.
I don't get how there could be more mass on you. How could there be more mass above you digging 100 feet lower?
Because you have gone 100 feet down, and you can look up and see the mass above you.
But there's still 3/4 of Earth below you.
Yeah, sure. You're still gonna have net gravity pulling you down to the center. However, it will be less. That's all. Yeah.
Man, this concept, this is such a crazy, like, that's what you guys get to live off of, is just concept after concept. And you get to just expand on concepts and then build off of theories, but it's all like in your head. That's what's amazing about it. It's like, you can do this, like some other guy said, you can take your friend and get a boat and go 100 miles, and you can do this, and you can get a gyro fiber optic gyroscope and go to different latitudes. You can do this in your head. You very much can. In physical reality, it's so much harder to prove for you guys. So that's why people don't believe it. It's because you just keep giving us more concepts and concepts.
I mean, it sucks that I can't go to the lab right now because of COVID. But
yeah, I'm sure COVID's the answer.
If I could,
that's a great answer. Just you should be a politician. You could be in Congress.
If I could go to the lab, because I am actually taking physics. If I do go to the lab, if I ever get access to it, which we're not most likely. In fact, we're going to do a tour of Fermilab, which we didn't because of COVID. But if I ever get a chance to, I will get a video of. I think most likely there will be a Cavendish experiment there. Most likely, if it's a good lab.
So how come the Cavendish? How come how come it can't be any electrostatic forces?
I mean, there's really good explanation for that.
Because I was looking into Coulomb's law.
Okay, yeah, Coulomb's law, sure. What was it? Q1 times Q2 times constant over R squared or some shit. Yeah, sure. Charge 1, charge 2. There's a constant, and then over R squared because it's radially expanding. Like it's you can think of it as a thin sphere, expanding, and the surface of the area of the sphere is, you could say, the field strength.
Will you be able to show us in this lab, gravity making water stick to a ball in the lab?
Well, gravity is sticking on a ball everywhere, but the big ball is the Earth.
No, but I mean, I want to see it in a lab. I want you to show me a ball in the lab with the gravity sticking the water to it, like they purport in the pictures.
The closest thing we have to that can be done is simulating gravity, in the sense that, and it's an experiment children can do, is you get a bucket, you put water in it, and you start spinning it around really, really fast. And if you realize
a bucket doesn't look like a sphere, though, right? Because a sphere doesn't really hold water. The water will just drain off the sphere, whereas a bucket will hold water. It's not like the best experiment.
These are Bain analogies. These are banal analogies.
I don't know what that term means. I'm sorry.
Sorry. They're just cliche and overdone analogies that don't work. Banal means kind of cliche and overused. Yeah, overused.
Sure.
Cliche. And they don't apply.
Actually, the bucket one does apply very well. The problem with it is that with the bucket, it's acceleration in one direction, but with a sphere the size of the Earth, with acceleration towards the center of it, it's different, obviously there, but the basic concept of water finding level and sticking to a surface can be easily proven.
Well, right, but take a sphere and put water on it and do the same thing. The water won't be contained. The water won't be contained. The water won't be contained on the sphere.
There's a way to do this. Technically, basically, it's really, really difficult. Basically, you would need, and it would only be for microseconds. You would need a sphere that's expanding. Right? You would need a sphere.
No. Because you're saying you need a water to be contained to be able to do this, but you can't contain water on a sphere.
I don't see how this is a refutation. As I said, it's omnidirectional in a sphere, and it's gigantic, first of all, on the Earth. Right?
It's another concept. God, these are so weird. I can't do the concept.
We don't have an omnidirectional gravity generator. If we did, I would be a trillionaire. I don't have that, unfortunately.
God, you need to work at
you would be Jeff Bezos.
You need to work at Disney or something.
What we have is really good simulations of unidirectional gravity. With centripetal force. In fact, that was proposed for multiple spaceship designs, where we can create artificial gravity through the centripetal force.
Okay, so don't ever use the bucket term again.
Why? I will, because it does clearly
using
show
this
water finding level, literally water finding level, because acceleration, it is sticking to a surface. The only difference is that because it's unidirectional, it's not gonna stick to a surface. It won't stick on a sphere. If there was a sphere, obviously it would go past it. No shit.
Well, it seems like if you were to take a sphere and you put it even in a low pressure chamber and you were to pour water on it, the tenacity or the friction of the sphere would hold the water as it goes to the equator, and it'll go down and around and it'll hug the bottom of the ball. But it's not gonna be pulled by the Earth below if the friction is strong enough on the sphere. You know what I mean? But you're saying
friction is relevant here.
What are you talking about? Relevant? It has to be relevant if you have a sphere in a low pressure chamber and you pour water on that sphere and the water pours on the sides. Maybe there's some that trickles and it holds onto the ball on the underside.
But that ball doesn't have 9.8. What was it? 9.8 to whatever.
He's dumb.
It doesn't.
What I'm saying is, what is this? Why is the sphere holding the little water droplets in this example?
Oh, this is the electrostatic forces and
Oh,
yeah, this is basically
so
electrostatic
why
forces.
couldn't we just
Also,
apply electrostatic forces on a large scale?
well, there's actually a really, really good explanation for it, and this goes into the strengths of the forces. So electrostatic force is actually really, really strong. Right? So when there is a strong enough force, what happens is that just like a lightning, it will discharge and rebalance itself. Just whenever the delta voltages is really high of any kind, basically what happens is there's a breakdown. The potential energy is converted into the air breaking down, plasma generated, and charge moves from one location to another, and it balances itself out. That's what happens. So if we're to even imagine some form of electrostatic force that's powerful enough to hold the ocean down, which is again insane, because first the water has to be ionized. It has to be ionized. That force that's holding the droplets is nowhere near enough to to hold anything near the weight of the Earth's oceans. I mean, Jesus Christ. And
okay, well, we obviously have an electrostatic force on Earth. So I hope you're not denying that there's no electrostatic force on Earth.
Of course, there's electrostatic force. We see lightnings all the time, you know. And
okay, great. So also what I'm saying though is the drip goes below the sphere and it's hugging onto. So you're saying over time, then the electrostatic charge loses its force due to mass attracting mass, and so it'll drop off of the sphere.
Electrostatic will lose its force because mass is attracting mass. No, I don't think I said that.
No, is that what you believe? I'm saying because the water will eventually either evaporate, obviously, or lose its force, and it won't stick to the ball, right? It has nothing to do with the Earth's pulling it off the ball.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm confused. What are we talking about?
Okay, water on the bottom of the sphere in the low pressure chamber. And it's hanging above the ground. Picture, yes. You know, so okay, so will the water drop eventually? Obviously, it will. But will it drop because it's losing electrostatic charge and the tenacity and the surface tension, or will it drop because the Earth is mass and the water is mass and the Earth is pulling the mass below?
I honestly don't know if it will drop or not. Maybe it will stick to it until it evaporates. I don't know. But if it I mean, I don't know how much water you're pulling down. I mean, a single drop can conceivably stick to a surface and stay on it until it dries out.
It's just fascinating that how strong mass is with the oceans, and then just this little drop, and then you have torque. Also, it's still just the electrostatic charge and the tenacity is just too much, and that's what I'm talking about. Is then you start
the scale, dude.
Exactly, I knew it. I knew that's my
a little bit bigger scale, just a little bit bigger. See if you can.
The Earth and a little tiny droplet of water off of another sphere. The Earth is huge. What do you mean scale? The scale of mass versus a tiny drop of water hanging from another sphere.
No, I'm saying this experiment that you're doing. These forces are only strong at the scale that's being presented in that video. I'm saying if you can't reproduce that event with larger drops, like much larger drops. Let's say you have I don't know, 2 meters diameter radius sphere, and you put a giant freaking bucket of water on it. And what you'll notice is that the droplets that fall down are going to be the same size, and they're not going to scale with size. And the reason it won't scale with size is because the only level where electrostatic forces are significant enough is at that scale. For example, if you're like an insect, really, really small, you can have a spherical drop, like the water tension, the surface tension of a water drop can create a sphere. If it's on a drop, like one drop can actually create a sphere. So again, does that follow logically when you expand it to a large pool of water? No, of course not, because those forces are not relevant at that scale.
That's a good point. So why would you assume that it makes spherical objects at the small scale and would make spherical objects on the large scale? So wouldn't it be logical to assume that the large scale would be flat?
If you were to assume that there can't be anything else, and again, this is a lot of assumptions you have to make to reach flat Earth. You have to make a lot of assumptions. You have to assume there's no gravity. You have to assume, and that's the most important thing, there's no gravity. Because with gravity, the whole model just collapses instantly.
With gravity, you have to assume gravity exists with the globe model.
Yeah, that's actually an important part of the globe model. Gravity is like significant too. It's just like a big part of entirety of astronomy and planetary studies. And
yeah, but it breaks down eventually. Eventually, it breaks down. You can only explain so much of it, and now you have to make stuff up to make it work.
It actually explains a lot of things. There's one strong sign for a scientific model is if it can make predictions accurately over and over again. And the Newtonian model and later on general relativity made lots of very accurate predictions. Which
it did make some good predictions, but it doesn't work well with quantum mechanics. So it's obviously something's wrong with one of them or both of them. When I don't think it's quantum mechanics.
Oh, clearly, Brummy's an expert and can answer questions about quantum mechanics.
The thing is, yeah, sure, we don't really know what's happening on the quantum. That's actually one of the biggest questions in physics. One of the biggest things that we're physicists are trying to do is unify the fields. There's the general relativity and the quantum field. They don't seem to be going too well together.
Exactly.
And I do agree with you. There's obviously much to learn, much we're missing of the big picture for sure. Absolutely, there's no way that I can disagree with that. We have so much to know. I mean, we barely know anything.
That's why I think that maybe gravity's wrong. That's my assumption. I think it's quite logical to assume that if there's predictive capability. Hold on, there we go. Everyone's jumping in. Lovely. It's logical to assume that everything they're predictive capabilities and they are working. But if they don't go together and there's contradictions, and maybe there's something wrong with one of them, and I'd assume that I can picture a world where things falling at night. Shut the fuck up, will ya? Can you shut the fuck up? Can you shut the fuck up? Can you shut the fuck up? Yeah.
I haven't how you understand it again.
Because science
shut the fuck up! Shut your fucking mouth! No one's talking to you.
Could be wrong because
no one's talking to you.
I don't give two shits. Nobody was talking to you.
I was
exactly.
Go on, please.
So basically, it would be logical to assume that if here we go.
I'm listening. Just go ahead, man.
To it.
Nothing. I'll talk to you in a minute when that idiot stops talking. Could
just mute Stone. Just mute him. He never adds anything to the conversation.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Way I look at it logically, I assume that if they've got predictive capabilities and
they are added anything.
Can I have another person muted, please, as well? I'm not being interrupted by these fucking idiots anymore.
I interrupt you anyway now, man.
Whatever.
Just go ahead. I'm not paying attention.
Kind of lost my thought, to be honest. But I think if there is something, obviously it's got predictive capabilities and it's obviously valuable and it makes a lot of things work. But obviously when you start to put it against something else that actually works, and you find out, shit, they both can't be wrong. Maybe one of them's wrong, and maybe we just need to refine one or get rid of one. And the way I look at it is, I can still see a world that works without gravity. So that's why I'd look at that and think, well, maybe things that do fall and they're just trying to find their rate at the certain, the 9.9 meters to 8 seconds squared, or whatever it is. That is something that we can agree on, but I don't think we need to attribute that to gravity. So I think that could be just like the nature of the universe. Even like the universes and the galaxies, even they seem flat, they seem even at some point. I mean, there might be slight differentials, but on the grand scale of things, it's quite like on a flat base. It's all sitting on this invisible fabric. Like even the special relativity is like a blanket, really, isn't it? So they're just saying that when you put a large body of mass in there, then it warps it and creates all this kind of effect of a down forward force. But really, I think that could be just misinterpreted to, we do have a downward force. You have an up, you have a down, and only light things go up and only heavy things go down, and that's just the nature it is. I haven't got nothing to replace it with at the moment. That's concrete, but I definitely feel like it makes sense that it can be misinterpreted.
Sure, I can go so far to agree with you there with the idea that we don't really know exactly the mechanisms by how it works, right? But we do know that we do observe the acceleration. That's something we can both agree on. One thing that I do not agree on with you though is that light things go up and heavy things go down. That's not very accurate in the sense that it's like a very small picture of what's actually happening. What's really happening is that you are in a fluid of some sort of gas or a liquid, and you have a weight, on top of you because those balls are, pressing on you and everything. But what happens is that as there's more pressure underneath, and then there's a top because there's more particles. You have a higher pressure on the bottom, which means more molecules hitting you at the bottom. Literally, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
That's how I understand. Net force upwards. Now, if you're light enough, that net force will be enough to cause an upward movement. So, and there's actually a really easy way to calculate the force that you'll experience.
Yeah.
And that's got to do with the mass of the medium that you've displaced. So, like, let's just say your volume is, I don't know, X, and you go into water, you know the density of water, and then you apply that volume to it, you get the mass, and you get the upward force. I mean, it's something like that. I don't remember.
My basic knowledge of it is you're saying that there's a force pulling us down, and that kind of creates the pressure for things to go upwards.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I understand that, but like the way I think it is, I think that people have made the mistake of separating the force of down to the force of up. I think they're both like in like an equilibrium, so to speak. Like I think that downward is just because of heavier molecules, and upwards is because of just lighter molecules. And I don't think it's the downward force pulling the other air around it, which is giving the smaller and lighter molecules to flow up. But I think it's I can't describe that to gravity. I think they're not, like gravity's been singled out for the downward force, but I actually think it's connected. That's where I'm going with it. I think up and down are both connected. I don't think they're connected in the way that everything's always downwards, and even that downward force is pushing things up. Because I think that I just think that's false. I just think that helium, for example, isn't going up because it's bouncing off all the other force that are denser around it. I think it's just going up because it's just lighter. That's that. I know it's a shit explanation, but it just seems to be consistent with the way with the way I could picture it. If that makes sense.
Sure, but
explanation.
So let's say we have something light. Like I don't know what that means, because relative to what? First of all, what is light?
Yeah, true.
But let's just say we have helium, which is like super light. Like light, one of the lightest. Actually, hydrogen is even lighter. So let's just go with hydrogen.
Yeah.
And what is your reasoning behind why hydrogen will go up?
Well, as I said, the same thing. There's a downward for things. When they get to a certain point, there's obviously a certain value that these molecules hit, and before they lose that buoyant force. I know you can say it's not, but I don't think we can call upwards buoyant. We can call downwards gravity if you want, or we can call it up and down. But I don't think that the upward force is being caused by the downward force. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just don't think. I think they're connected, but they're not. It's not related in the way that gravity's explaining it. I think that's just So it's still consistent, but I just think it's a misconception where we're saying, the bending of warp spacetimes causes this downward force. Therefore, and even the gas molecules have been pulled down. Therefore, it's pushing other ones up. And I'm thinking, no, I don't. I just think it's just like there's a certain value that these molecules have, and once they pass that level, they will never have an upward force. And when they get past that level, they will always go to downward force. And there's probably like a line between the density and the volume and etc. of these molecules. And that's what kind of like differentiates the difference between things that go up and things that go down.
I mean, we can prove this, and we can do an experiment, to test it. We can get a chamber of any kind, fill it with only hydrogen, and see where the hydrogen, land, how does it disperse exactly. And if hydrogen was naturally just always going up no matter what you would realize that if in a closed environment, like in a closed container, because it's moving up, the pressure will be higher at the up area.
It should be. It should be.
But
that's not what we find.
I don't know. I mean, I would say I would assume no, but I don't know. I haven't done the experiment. This will be a cool experiment to do. But if gravity is just pulling everything down, then even hydrogen would have a higher pressure at the bottom of the container. That's really.
I was talking to Xanix the other day, and he was saying to me that when we compress, any sort of gas and we put it on a scale, it will still register as heavier. Like I saw the syringe demonstration that you can weigh gas, and I'm not saying that you can't weigh it, but I think the only way to weigh it is containing it. And obviously, once you've contained that gas, it changes it's enclosed in a solid material which can be weighed, and then obviously it's going to be it's going to differentiate in that weight. But I still think the gas inside these containers are still pushing in all directions. So I'm not 100% sure we are getting like to the fucking nucleus level of like true weight, because I think that if it has still got a slight upward force, it may be negligible, but it's still there. I think they're still pushing in all directions, but it's in a container that's holding it down. So we are getting like probably a weight. We're going to get a weight differential. We put helium in it, for example, and then we put hydrogen in it, for example. And even if we put the same amount of volume in there, we're going to get different numbers. But I still feel like the gas is still going in all directions in them containers. Does that make sense?
If the gas is going in all directions, but if it is lighter, it would be kind of like a balloons, a bunch of like visualize this, okay? Because this is how I'm trying to visualize this. Like imagine a bunch of helium balloons in a room bouncing, right? They're still going up, but they can bounce, right? They're still like they're going up, but the walls are containing the bouncing and everything. So there will be a net like pressure basically upwards. It's just the way it is. If hydrogen atom is naturally going up, what I would predict is that if you get a vacuum chamber, the larger the better. Actually, I mean the taller. Sorry, tall is much better because you want to measure the delta pressure at the heights. I would predict that in a vacuum chamber, you would find that the bottom will still, just like regular air, be the most dense.
Yeah. But you know what I thought about that? The fact that saying the molecules go to the bottom is because when you take the air out, you actually are creating a vacuum, right? And a vacuum has pressure. And obviously, if you put water in there, it would boil. What it does is it kind of like it makes the bonds separate. So water can transform to steam, but that's why it boils. And you can't do that to ice because obviously it's the stronger bonds. And I don't think the pressure inside of a vacuum is enough to change that. But I think if you're in a vacuum environment, then you are actually putting an external force, so to speak. I know that people say that vacuum is a force, but by putting pressure on water, on gas, is technically a force. In the way I look at it, at least, because you're going to need a force to make that vacuum. For example, you're going to have to create a pump force to pump all the air out, which is going to create like a negative force in that available space. Hence why if you was in space, all the blood would come rushing out your body and all the oxygen cells would try to rush out. Your blood would boil because it would be trying to change state from liquid to steam because of the pressure on it. So I think that the reason that these gas molecules fall to the floor is because they're under pressure.
I mean, yeah, that is the reason. It is because of, I mean, the pressure, and which is caused by the molecules standing on each other, which creates the weight kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say one thing real quick with the water ice thing. It's not that ice has stronger bonds. It's just that it has less energy. That's it. So in a vacuum, what happens with a drop is that there is a certain amount of energy, but because it's in a vacuum, what happens is that it will quickly start. Those molecules at the surface will escape because they have enough energy and nothing's containing it anymore. And when that happens, the drop will start cooling down because it's losing energy. And at some point, it's kind of like boiling and freezing at the same time because it will boil, slowly, and the boiling will slow down and it will start freezing. And you can actually freeze stuff with vacuum. It's actually pretty badass.
You joking me? I've never seen that.
There's a really good Thunderfoot video on this. Let me see if I can find it. It's pretty cool.
I'm quite impressed that you said it's got So when you freeze something, is that like basically taking the energy out of it, and that's why it turns from solid to liquid. I mean, liquid to solid. Sorry. So it's basically freezing something, kind of a way of absorbing energy from something, and that's why it goes into like a static state, why you can keep things longer because you remove the energy from. You can remove the energy from things by freezing them. That's quite interesting. I never thought of it that way.
Absolutely, that's a loss of kinetic energy. It's like the energy of the system is a lot less.
It takes energy to absorb energy, then, right? Because obviously, to make things cold.
It does, yeah. It's you can't just it does take a lot of energy to cool things down.
Oh my god, that's impressive. I've never thought of that.
Yeah, let me see if I can find a cool Thunderfoot video if possible. Oh, wait, let me mute myself.
Did you ever figure out what the 3 necessary parts of an experiment are?
No, I haven't. Can you please enlighten me, sir, kind sir?
Shout out to Shroomy. What's up, Shroomy? Burr.
Shouts out to Shroomy and aliens on Venus.
The thing is, Herms, is that you're looking at or you're listening to your new educators. Now, obviously, we've heard you out. We're hearing your theoretical understanding of how the world works. Fine.
Yes.
But, at the end of the day, you're going to have to kind of practically demonstrate that what you're saying is true. Now, the difference between kind of what you do and what the flat earthers do is that we demonstrate practically. So if we were to say the earth is turning, causing the gyro to rotate, we would manipulate the earth turn to show that's exactly what's the cause. You see?
Yeah, that's not possible though. I'm sorry, you can't do that. What you can do is, as I said, you can do a side experiment with the gyroscope and see if.
Oh no, let's not derail. But I was just simply saying that the point is that what Brummy and Jeremy are saying here is that you don't know science basically, and if you did know what science was and how to use it, you would understand the parts, the constituent parts of science, and then of the experiment, and then how to conduct a scientific experiment.
Okay. I have actually conducted scientific experiments. I do know what it means to form a hypothesis. I do know what it means to isolate a variable, the independent variable, and the dependent, which is the result that you get, is what you pay attention to. And there's also a what's it called? Control variable. Control variable. There's also confound. There's many things, but the basic is independent, dependent. First is the hypothesis, independent, dependent. Then there's verifying.
Any constant, right?
Yeah. You make sure everything is constant except what you want to isolate, and then you verify. You look at the results. You measure it. You carefully measure it. And more very importantly, you account for the margin of error. Obviously,
you said Hermes. You said them all jumbled up in some kind of word salad science soup. But do you know what the three necessary parts of an experiment? You said you've done it.
As I have said, kind sir, can you please enlighten me?
You said you've done experiments. You just forgot, or
Jeremy's coming hard.
Help him out, Jeremy.
Who unmuted Stone?
Jeremy,
I already explained to you what the method is. Now, my question: you're the one that's introducing a term. By the way, as I Google it, I couldn't even fucking find it. You're the one that's introducing a term. Just do it.
Jeremy, he wants
the three parts of science or whatever.
Jeremy, he wants you to give your version of it.
Yeah.
We agree on the scientific method. He said it. Hypothesis, experiment, all that. He had it good. He just doesn't know what an experiment is.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. He wants you to tell him.
Explain it.
I can't believe I got to explain it to a Glober, but it's the control.
All right, okay.
You literally already said it, but you just don't know because you hit us with like some words.
You jumbled them around. They're all jumbled up.
Yeah, Harold, I just want to apologise earlier for me coming in quite hot and giving you loads of shit because actually I've appreciated that you still remained kept in character and actually taught me something, and I appreciate the back and forth. It was a really good conversation.
Good
For
stuff.
sure, man.
Good stuff.
Sure. I'm glad I
Bad Hermes. Bad Hermes.
Hermes, look, we're trying to educate you a little bit here on science, so you don't go around doing pseudoscience, right? So remember, I said to you the cockerel could cause the sun to rise. You said, oh, no, that could never happen. It's correlation. So how can we do the same with the Earth turn? How can we show that it's the actual cause, not correlation?
It's actually difficult because as I already admitted that it's impossible to change the Earth's rotation. It's very difficult to do so. It would require different methodology, obviously, because again, you can't control it, so you have to use a different method. I don't know exactly the correct method that would be the best. I gave my idea. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I do appreciate you trying to help me not do pseudoscience for sure, and that's actually a big part of what we study. It's like legit. It talks about academic honesty all the time.
Absolutely.
I don't know what else to say besides the experiment.
Well, you have a few options here. You can be a man about it and say, well, hey, I cannot manipulate my independent variable, therefore hypothesis wrong. Or you can dig down like you're about to do now, dig your heels in and say, well, just because I can't manipulate the Earth turn doesn't mean I'm wrong. I'm sure there's somebody somewhere out there that could manipulate the Earth turn or find out if the Earth is turning. So there are your options. You're gonna go with the digging down of your heels and just say, well, I'm gonna go with my.
I mean, both are kind of false in many ways because both are reaching a conclusion based on not knowing. I don't know. Okay, I can't verify. I really can't. But I can't say it's wrong or right.
So
based
right
on
now,
my.
we don't know if the Earth is turning.
However, there is a body of evidence out there. Now, you can say that you can't trust it, and that's fine.
No, I trust it all. What is it? Show me the body that shows the Earth is turning.
Kimo, don't troll too much. What you're just saying now is probably the most honest position that I've been looking for this honesty for so long. And like you're saying, there is a body of evidence. You can choose whether to believe it or not, and that's how it should be. But so many of these fucking buffoons try to shove it down your neck and say you must accept this evidence because it's categorically the only way you can accept the world. That's where I have a problem because this is a choice for you to accept the evidence that's been presented or not. It's not. It's not an order.
No argument.
Yeah, I think once he
realized,
realised,
why would you accept something?
I think once he realises that he's going down a path that's going to bring more problems than answers, I think it's easier to get out now, get out quick, and be like, well, all right, yeah, I can't manipulate the Earth turn, so I don't, that's the easiest option right now. Whereas, I don't know, kosho. You hear kosho?
What do you want, Kimo?
So, Earth turn. We can't manipulate the Earth turn, so how can we verify if it's affecting the gyro?
Okay. It's fairly simple. I'm not new here, so I'm going to give you a regular answer, okay? The new guy's pretty smart, but he doesn't know you guys very well.
Right.
There's simple ways to determine the difference between the Earth turning and the sky moving.
Mm-hmm.
One is to take note of all the objects that are clearly moving.
Apparent motion.
Don't gotta tap your mic, but go on.
Yeah, you take a note on how they're moving and the time it takes for them to move, and then you can look at each one of them individually, like the moon, the planets, for example, and see how they're moving. And you could determine through this that they're all behaving in such a way that even though they all go around a single time in 24 hours, the ones that are moving independently of the rest of the sky are doing exactly that, plus or minus the more local movements that they're making. And these are observations that we've made for thousands of years now, but more closer to the last 400 years, getting them right. So
kosho is the man, right? You hear that globe? You hear that, Hermes? That's why kosho is the man when it comes to the globe knowledge, right? If you want globe knowledge, if you need some globe knowledge, Hermes, you want to hit kosho up. Now, can you repeat
Kimo,
Hold on, kosho. Hold on, kosho.
No,
hold on, kosho. Hermes,
don't put words in my mouth.
Can you? I didn't put words in your mouth.
Motions in your mouth.
Can you?
Don't tell me that I'm emotional or angry about the flat Earth or whatever you're talking about, dude. Don't say stuff like that.
Hermes, can you repeat what kosho just told us about other ways of knowing rotation? Hermes, you still with us?
Yes, I'm here. I'm going to go.
Do it.
Tell me, before you begin, don't focus on brevity. Try to be verbose. Okay?
Okay.
All right, thanks.
So look, there are other ways then you can manipulate Earth turn here, Hermes. You figure out how to do it now.
I mean, the Earth wasn't manipulated. It was multiple measurements taken in simultaneously. The Earth was never
in contention.
The Earth's rotation was never altered in those experiments.
No, because you said you've got a device that causes it to rotate because of the Earth turning, yeah?
Actually, you know what? I have no idea. I'm lost. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.
That was a nice conversation. Catch you later, Hermes.
It was.
You were very honest, though, because
actually, I didn't know.
You're very one of the better ballers.
Running back to his spinning testicle.
Why would you say ask such a fucking stupid question?
Brummy had some kind of breakthrough there, I think.
No, I think we did very well there. He understood, he doesn't want to do pseudoscience. He wants science. Yeah, take care there, Hermes.
Like you'd have any idea what science is, Kimo.
What?
Like you would have any idea what science is.
Is flat Earth even pseudoscience?
Hey, Brummy, look,
pseudoscience,
Mackay's speaking again. Maybe he knows something. I remember you were asking him, what does he know about the world? He didn't answer. What do you know about the world, Mackay?
Mackay,
what do you know about the world around you?
Kimo.
You didn't answer Brummy yesterday when he asked you.
I'm not going to jump through your hoops.
Kimo.
All right, so that's my point. You don't know anything about...
Your little game is boring. Kimo, your game is boring.
Yeah?
It's not worth my time.
Okay. So what's your point?
That's got to sting a little, Spooky.
Mackie will never answer your questions. He just wants his questions
I'm trying to find out his point now.
Kimo, all the toxic people.
Jeremy, I've already agreed that I'd explain to you everything about optics you need to know. And you said no.
Yeah, but how do you know these things? What have you done in your life to show that you have the credentials or the authorities, McKay?
I'm not. I didn't want to bother you, Kimo. You're wasting my time.
You brought me into it. You mentioned me, McKay. Yeah? So now I'm mentioning you when you were called out by Brummy and he asked you a very simple question. What do you know about this world? And you were silent like a dormouse.
Oh, yeah, get back in your hole, you little rat. You get in your little fucking cage.
Kimo 1, McKay 0.
Fucking broke, man.
When you have to study science to know what science was, when you have to at least be able to study it.
Oh, what's this? Who's this?
Ooh, that's an interesting question.
Who's muting Brummy? Why are you muting Brummy?
Nobody's muting
Brummy. Can't handle it. That's right. I can't handle it. A toxic room. Can't handle it, man. They like to sit here laughing at flat earthers all day, but when they get laughed at, they can't handle it.
Kimo, you can't handle it. When you see somebody making noise like that,
let's not give Kosho any.
Yeah, because getting laughed at by a flat earther is like watching a monkey throw its own shit and giggling about it. It doesn't make any difference.
That's what we're here to find out, though, Commander. Okay, we're here to find out who can apply science. Here to find out who knows what is about reality.
We know you're not.
It means nothing because you know they're less intelligent.
Why are you Commander Small Willie?
What do you mean, why am I?
Again?
Yeah, why? You should be Dr. Commander Small Willie.
The thing is, Commander, no one's stupid. You're not smarter than me, mate. Not by a long shot. Listen, you were fucking smarter than me, you know what I'm saying, lad? I'm fucking intelligent than me, you know. I'm fucking intelligent.
I mean,
you got to watch in school, lad. This in school. They don't teach you what I know. They don't teach you what I know.
Brummy trying to tell us how smart he is.
Brummy trying to tell us how smart he is. All I have insults to the conversation. All I have insults to the conversation.
I mean, if we do notice that Brummy was having a decent conversation with Herms, and now because Scott McKay has turned around and started throwing mud, it's now
because Brummy.
Well, don't quit being a liar.
No, Brummy was having a conversation with Hermes, right?
I'm saying something, Kimo. You're being blatantly dishonest. Just be responsible. Like, start fucking doing what you're supposed to be doing here. Not fucking. You can see what he's doing. It's okay.
Right now,
Brummy participates, but now when he does that,
Like when Kimo asked him a simple
conversation.
Like when Kimo asked him a simple question and he wouldn't answer, and then someone else stepped in and called Kimo a liar, and
Kosho, me and you get along, right? Yeah, me and you get along. We have good conversations. We may not agree on what the shape of the earth or can but it's evidence not, right? But these people in here, all they ever do is they jump in, they heckle the conversation, they derail it, and they just throw insults. They don't add any sort of intellectual conversation.
That's all we ever do. That's a blatant lie.
Well, here you go.
That's the most entertaining thing we do.
All right, so it's entertaining that you get to get muted. I don't like what he's saying. He's taking a piece out of me. He's laughing at me. Blah blah blah.
We got all the information. You get.
I don't want to talk to any of you anymore. I'm done with talking to you. I'm done talking to you. I'm done.
It all depends on you.
You fell for flat Earth.
Over and out. Thank you very much for having me.
But it's
not stay out. Thanks.
Yeah. You get him and just insult people. You fucking miserable bastard.
Bye, Mr. Toxic.
Miserable. Toxic.
You're calling him toxic, Herb?
Absolutely. Absolutely. He has
You're
nothing
the most toxic
but
person I've ever heard. You're the most toxic person I've ever heard.
He also has that laugh. He has that laugh. Don't forget about that, Curve.
Now. No one needs you, Curve.
I have antiseptic qualities.
Nothing.
You don't know nothing.
Like
You're an idiot.
I heard you had not one.
You're so dumb.
Brummy, let Raqia say something. Let Raqia speak.
Do nothing. And no one stops you.
Brummy, let Raqia speak for a minute.
And well, no one stops you from running your mouth
They
over
mute
every
me.
name, do they?
They mute me and mute Bjorn
No,
me.
you rarely.
They don't
mute
mute you
Raqia.
for some reason. You can just chop in at any time and spew your toxicity on everyone and just ad hom. And just ad hom people, and no one mutes you.
If he's rude to Debbie, he gets muted.
Bullshit.
You do.
Listen at it.
You muted for talking to that cunt. Fuck you, Kimo.
Well, you look.
I'm not toxic.
Brummy thinks he's a great mind.
Anti-septic.
I know. I'm smarter than everyone. And you're dumb, but I'm not toxic.
I'm not smarter than everyone. That's what's so sad about it. An idiot like me makes you look ridiculous. What does that make you?
Another ad hom by Mr. Non-Toxic.
That was not an ad hom. That was a fact.
Right. It's a fact.
Because
you know dick about me. You know nothing about me.
You don't know what an ad hom is.
Nothing.
Fact.
What's the shape
Nice
of the
thinking,
earth?
Raqia, please.
Seems to be flat. No drop from horizontal.
Someone tell me how general relativity goes with quantum mechanics.
I think look, we need a topic, Brummy, Raqia. Can we get a topic because the ballers are getting a little bit.
General relativity don't go with quantum mechanics. You heard it from a Glover. You heard it from a Glover.
I'll say drop from horizontal. How to measure it. That's a good topic.
Yeah, we need a topic where the ballers.
You don't know how.
Yeah, drop from. I don't know how. So tell me, oh great one, non-toxic. Tell me how. Go ahead. How would you create a horizontal?
It's gonna go for everybody.
How am I supposed to answer while he's running his fat fucking stupid retarded mouth?
Curbs, I want you to go ahead, but before I just want to let everybody know, quit doing that because I'm just gonna mute you. Kimo's gonna unmute you, but I'm gonna mute you.
Stop muting.
So just don't talk over people. It's not time to do that. Curve's gonna go ahead and say what he's gonna say now.
Stop muting them, Coach.
You can look.
You can't silence the truth, man. You can't silence the truth.
And now it's Brummy. Okay.
I'm sorry, the Kimo. You know what he's
Do the 45-second rule. Okay, everybody.
The rule.
45 seconds curved.
I'll restate it, and it's for anyone. How would you measure and establish a horizontal? How would you create a horizontal? Go ahead, anyone.
It's not for anyone. I think you guys should just give Curve a chance to say it. Just don't interrupt him.
He had 20 seconds of silence, and he chose not to talk.
He didn't, Raqia, so stop talking.
I've already told you, fuck off. I'm not doing this.
So he's not doing it. Anyone else?
No, you've already fucked up.
I didn't say nothing. I was on mute. Why you didn't say anything?
And then Brummy started it after you.
Kosho, you need to stop muting the guests, please. That's
no, dude, they're not fucking guests, Kimo. That's what they're fucking here for. They're here to fucking not talk when other people are talking. Stop fucking telling me that shit because it starts pissing me off.
All you gotta do though is
people are talking over other fuckers.
Without a warning, Kosho.
When they're cackling over them, you fucking mute them. You don't fucking unmute them just
without a warning.
You think it's a good
That's
show.
not abuse.
Kimo saying
abuse. Fucking retarded, dude.
Broomy and Curve started talking at the same time. I agree that Broomy should not have been talking. Curved is just being a little baby. All he's got to do is take the dead air that came right after that and start answering the simple question. How would he create a horizontal?
Well, I mean, I think anyone can answer this.
I know how not to do it. What you're not going to want to do is look over miles and miles of atmosphere.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Any of the smart people want to tell us dumb people how to create a horizontal?
I'd love to know.
Doesn't sound like
why you won't listen.
Okay. So immediately go to what I wouldn't do, personal. So that means you don't know how.
I've heard you told 100 times already.
Anybody else?
I've heard you told many times, and you just summarily reject it. Why would
anybody else?
Anybody
so we're talking about me now. We're talking about me now again. Anybody else?
Can you stop?
I'd get on a boat and I'd just start driving.
Is there no one else?
So I find my horizontal.
Is there any smart person here?
Today, man. Who kicked
Should
over
be
the
easy,
rock?
right? Got all the technology in the world.
I'm a smart
All
man.
the magical tools. All the great engineering over thousands of years we've developed. Any way to create a horizontal.
Dude, no one wants to talk to you, dude.
Well, we don't know that yet, Kosho.
There's
We
no
don't know
Kosho.
that. They may be
I'm
just
sure
thinking
that's
about
what it
their
is.
answer, Kosho. So let's not
The answer is
try and shut down
yes. We
conversation.
have an answer. We just want to talk to this guy.
The answer is
Yeah.
yes. I mean, everybody knows how to create a horizontal.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there you go. We've got an answer. Yes. Yes, Raqia, they can establish a horizontal.
It's
Show
like
us, tell us
we
how.
have a map, but we just don't want to show it to you.
Why don't you
What a
want
ruler? You know what a ruler is?
a ruler? Yeah, cool.
Sally, now that you're here, actually, maybe you could elaborate a little bit on
Oh, is that Soundly?
what Jesse Kozlowski had done, because I've asked you before about this, but I don't think I guess you didn't you didn't work too in depth with him on this thing, but he used the GPS surveying technique, I think the total station sort of thing, to make a straight line and then reference that with the bridge. Did you
It sent links that day.
just said again? Oh, who linked the data?
I sent links to his videos that day. I mean, I can send
Hey.
links back if you want.
Well, hold on. Who's answering this?
Hey,
Soundly
hey,
or
hey.
Kosho? Who's answering Rakia's
For A-
question?
Yo, for A,
Is
they didn't
Sally
make a
gonna
straight
answer?
line, Kosho. For A, they didn't make a straight line. For B, you want to talk about the temperature inversions that happen multiple times a day at your bridge?
They didn't make a straight line, Kosho.
They didn't.
Cry.
All right,
Let's
let's
talk about
get
they made a
back.
straight
Let's get
line,
back
we
to it
know
then.
they
All right, no, let's stop bitching. Right, let's talk about something. Right, let's talk about gravity and why you guys believe it's gravity. Like,
Oh,
what-
hold on,
what's your
Bobby.
evidence?
Soundly, are you talking to Rakia about this horizontal plate?
Yeah, I still hadn't heard an answer to my very simple question.
Yeah. I just want to get this out of the way.
Somebody create a horizontal? What the fuck are you talking about, man? No one knows what you're even asking.
No one
Why
knows
is
how to make a
Stone
horizontal
unmuted?
line.
Who unmuted Stone?
I mean, I think Stone's okay,
A
but
ruler.
Kosho,
A ruler,
did you answer
stupid.
something?
You know what a ruler is, stupid?
see, Kosho, look, we're just having fun. Nobody wants to answer, and yet you're muting everybody.
No
right?
one wants to talk to fucking Raqia. No one's getting muted.
What
Dumb
are you
shit.
talking about, Kosho?
Like, just shut
All
the
the
fuck
flat
up,
earthers
dude.
want to know this question. So the idea
Don't talk
is,
over me anymore, man. I'm gonna start muting you.
yeah. But the point is that we're asking a question. I was saying something. You just started over talking me. So I was
Just
saying,
asking a
look, Coach,
question, dude.
again. You see? So I was saying that nobody wants to answer this question. So we're having fun. Everyone's having a laugh. They seem to think it's time for humour. And then you're muting everyone who's having humour, right? When we get someone like Holmes,
When the globe is dead and you've got no proof.
when we get
of
someone like
gravity.
Holmes who wants to have a serious discussion, Kosho, I think that's obviously the time for, the moderation. But you can see right now, Scott doesn't want to answer it. Sandy doesn't want to answer it. Curb doesn't want to answer it. All the top ball earthers right now do not want to answer this question about horizontal.
Let's stick to the facts. The way the world presents itself is flat. I've been around the world. I've done a few laps, and the way it presents
Now,
itself is
if
flat.
Glass Monster... Oh,
we don't
what?
need to have a model about horizontal. Duh.
So the idea is, Kosho, you've got to be a bit more patient because, a lot of these ball earthers have heard this line of questioning many, many times, just like yourself, Kosho. Whereas we go on. Whereas you're like, oh, we've answered this. Okay, well, you've answered it. But we're not satisfied with your answer, Kosho. That's the problem, you see. So what we're looking for is someone who obviously has done the research, done the experiments, right?
Stupid language.
Kosho, I sent you a link and DM.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Is it from Walter Bislin, by the way? Because I had to look at that one. Here, I'll just say
No,
what.
this is Jesse's blog.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
So, look, you've got to look at the time and the place, and we've got 2 questions from Flat Earthers, gravity, horizontal line, and none of them want to be answered right now, Kosho. What do we do?
Kimo.
You should
You
just
fucking deaf.
Keep repeating yourself.
Nobody
over and
wants to
over
talk
again,
to Raqia. Jeremy has asked this question so many times, and people answer it every time. That tells you that there's people in here who know how to do it and don't mind answering the question. No one's answering the question because Curve just tried to, and he got fucking cut off like 3 times, and now nobody wants to talk to Raqia. It's not my fucking fault.
No.
It's not my problem either.
No. What Curve does, Curve waits till somebody starts talking, then gives an answer, and then says, "Oh, I'm not going to give an answer."
Kimo.
And then runs off. I'm not going to answer it.
Not going to sit here and take that from you, Kimo.
The last
Fuck
3
you.
questions you've done that, Curve. It seems to be a pattern. Do you want to take the dead air?
Lie,
Then take this opportunity to answer it. Go ahead.
Why don't you take an opportunity to go drown yourself?
Yeah, there you go. Personal attack.
Do humanity a service.
Yeah,
When
there
you're
you go.
heard, you're attacked.
Take my children away first, right, Kosho? That's all y'all have. Sad. People
Children
hear
are
that,
fucking
you know?
18 years and up, dude.
So what we have
Like,
to
how
do,
fucking dumb can you be?
Kosho, we have to wait
You
for
still
Mr.
want them
Scott.
taken away, huh, Kosho?
When
And he
Mr.
wants
Scott
me to go
comes
drown
here,
myself. Quite the group you got here.
Sorry, Raqia.
No, I'm just saying, quite the group that hangs out over here together.
Thanks, brother.
What dumb shit is going to be
That's
afraid of the
buddies,
CPS
right?
coming away to take away their adult kids?
Not worried about nothing. I was saying
Then
how
shut the fuck up about it then.
How you said it should happen, you moron.
So, like I say, Coach, we're in a very, very precarious position because I've told you we're going to ask this question again and again and again. Now,
Go ahead. And
Yes,
we will
I know
laugh
you will.
again
Yes,
and
we
again
know that.
and again.
Not just
At least
by
some
me,
people are beginning to realize
but
that.
by the next generation. They'll continue to ask until, just like the
No,
guy
they're not.
today.
I don't know
'cause-
that FD
Well, we'll
died
take our
out,
chances.
Yeah, that's fine because it is going to be a
about
marathon.
to
I
laugh
did
for
say that
many
to Brummy. It's not a sprint. It's a long way to go. There's lots of many people like you. There's millions of people that think like you, like hard-headed, hard of heart. You just won't do anything for yourself. You just parrot what you're told.
What about those of us that are just hard?
No,
All the
you're just
time?
hard-headed. That means like your mind is not open to the possibility.
Jake, if you're hard for over 4 hours, you need to see your doctor.
Exactly.
So we're just having fun until the next curious ball earther wants to know why the flat earthers think what we think, right? And then when we obviously break it down for them, like Hermes, it's too much for him to take. But gosh, I haven't got science.
That's the problem, Kimo. You're just having fun.
Dirt for one person to take.
No, you guys are having fun. You can see that everyone's having humor in the meantime.
FE is about having fun. It's not real.
And Kosho's being overly in this. It's not necessarily right.
Words, Kimo.
Would fall for that, but
Anyway, like I say, when Mr. Scott arrives, we'll have an expert around the table, and he will be able to explain the horizontal plane, gravity, and all those things.
For the 7,488th time, right?
I think it's like we move up.
And this time it'll finally get through to you. This time when it's explained, you'll finally understand it.
Yeah, because he might have slept on it, thought of another way to explain it, more detailed.
Yeah, sure.
Y'all don't want to learn, so we
Then
just
it'll finally get through to you.
That's fair.
Yeah, look, I'm willing and open. If the Earth's a ball, it's a ball,
You're
right?
not.
Who cares what the shape is, right?
Are...
Yeah, but if it's a ball, it's a ball. If it's curving, spinning, flying through space, whatever, And maybe we're missing some. What?
What's the name of this show? What's the name of this Discord?
This is
Isn't
what's your flat Earth?
Debate, Flat Earth, and what?
More, yeah.
And more. So they just want to do the more part. They don't want to debate Flat Earth.
Let's see if any of you two dumb fucks can
there you
repeat
go.
back to us.
You added what?
Raqia,
Put yourself on mute. Put yourself. You're gonna call me a dumb F. You're gonna call me a dumb F and then tell me to shut up.
Shut the fuck up, Raqia.
Why don't you put yourself on mute?
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, you got all the power,
For fuck's sake, shut up. When I'm in the middle of talking, you shut up. And when you talk, I'll shut up. Do you understand that? Like, for fuck's sake.
You call me a dumb F
Why are you
and
so
expect
fucking
me to
stupid?
shut up? What are you, stupid?
I know, Coach. Think about it. If I started abusing the
I'm gonna finish
guest,
what I'm saying now. I'm gonna finish what I'm saying now, Kimo.
No, but Kosho, if I started,
Kimo, I'm gonna finish what I'm saying now, Kimo. All right. So Kimo, don't fucking start. So yeah, if any one of you wants to repeat back to us, if any one of you wants to repeat back to us any one of the methods that we have told you plenty of times, I'm sure afterwards one of us would be happy to share another one with you if you're capable of doing that. which I don't think you are.
Kosho, if you're going to shout, how can we digest what you're saying?
I want to shout if your fucking little minions aren't fucking talking over me, Kimo.
Listen, Annie boy, he's so triggered. You're a mod.
I know, that is the point, Kosho. You are a mod and
You're a
abusing
mod.
people.
Gang, that's why.
You're saying people's children
They
should be
need
taken
it,
away and calling
okay.
people dumbass, and you're a mod.
They're
here?
not fucking children, you dumb fuck.
Who's running
God
this show?
damn it.
Who's running this show?
Not you.
The inmates.
You damn right, because there ain't no way a guy like that would be a mod of anything I had to do with.
Come in here or something.
Nobody cares.
I know you don't. I know you don't
No
care.
one
You don't care
cares.
about yourself, much less me. I get it.
Oh
I got
no,
it.
I'm so hurt.
I know exactly who you are.
Raqia
You're with
is
people
gonna
you on
not
a
take you out of
daily
the boat
basis.
now, Curved. What do you feel
Tell
about
me,
that?
retard life. Come on.
The curve's chirping up now. I
Right,
didn't
guys.
want to answer the question.
Where's Mr.
Don't want to
Spot?
talk to me, but
Guys.
all of a sudden
Tell
wants
me.
to attack me,
Tell me
right?
all
He
about
wants to
me,
get involved
Rockhead.
in the personal stuff.
Come on,
Right?
Rockhead.
We
Tell
all
me.
hear you, Curve. We all hear you.
You know
Didn't want
me.
to
Tell
answer
me.
a simple question because you
Tell
didn't
me
want to
all
talk
about
to me.
me.
But now all of a sudden you want to talk to me?
Tell me about me, Rockhead.
What a double speaking dummy.
Shut up.
You're just here for the attention. Toxic.
There's another word you
You
don't know.
love the toxic.
We're just here to
Come
laugh.
on. Can you come up with another one?
No, we all hear you. You didn't want to answer a simple question. I asked one question. I've only asked one.
I was going to, and I was trying.
And
I
can
got
you
stopped.
tell us how many times we've answered that question?
And then I realized also who I'm talking to, and I realized how pointless it was.
No,
So-
if there's where there's a will curve, there's a way.
You're talking to the audience, not just me.
I'm talking to you. I hope that you keep rolling down and busting your ass.
Oh, what'd you do? You wished harm on me again? What a show y'all run here. What about it, mod? Any mod want to take control of this?
Are you gonna quit crying like a baby and take the tampon out of your vagina? Get the sand out,
Come on.
or are you just gonna
Calm
keep
down,
crying?
buddy.
Calm down. Calm down. I got sand in my vagina, everybody.
You see,
That's all y'all
Kosho,
do.
what's happening
That's
now?
all y'all do.
Look at me.
Attack personal. Where's Kosho when you need him? Attack personal. That's it.
Do you need
Attack.
Hey, listen, boat guy. I told you fucking already once when you started talking. Why don't you
Oh, here
repeat
he
back
is.
to us any of the one methods we've already said to you? And I'm sure after you do that, people will be happy to give you a new one. But I don't think you're capable of that because of how much fucking schooling you've had.
Who cares what you think?
Well, why don't you
can
tell
swim with that.
Raqia what you told Jeremy? Did Jeremy ask every day? What did Jeremy?
I
get
just
told?
gave you my only offer. All right?
Go on. We're listening.
That's the problem. You're not.
You weren't
Kosho, we're listening.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to answer the question.
How do you
Or say,
establish your
I don't know
horizontal
the
line?
answer to your question. Let's move on.
Move on. Why? Have you conceded that the Earth's not a globe? Then.
So you didn't hear Kosho's question. Point taken.
No, he's not
Yeah,
speaking.
I
Kosho,
answered,
this
I answered both you guys in the chat. I don't know why you want to.
Kosho, this question is scary for them because they can't make a horizontal.
I've already answered in the chat.
Yeah.
Jeremy can't read things that aren't titles. You should know that, Soundly.
You know, they have no way to make a horizontal. Why do you think
for all the
we
ways
have
we
been
told
trying?
you.
Soundly, we want a conversation. Soundly, why don't you just tell us what is said and we can talk about it?
I'm only here for the shit show.
We're here for a conversation.
Not really, no.
Yeah, Jeremy, explain what raqia means when he asks he wants a horizontal or whatever the fuck.
Stone, I would acknowledge your presence if you ever
You
had
just
anything good
did.
to say.
You just did.
You just did.
Well, that was it.
Listen, you Globus, right? You have to realize you ain't got no proof for your shit. Okay, you need to just accept there's no evidence.
I think there's a glimmer, Brummy. I have a glimmer of hope that they're going to deliver. I think they're just delaying it. I think they're messing us around. I think they're
Now,
just
they know
holding
they
the
can.
information back. And they wouldn't
Kimo,
be
they-
here, obviously, Brummy. Obviously, they wouldn't be here if the Earth, if they didn't have the evidence. Obviously, right?
Exactly.
Obviously.
Kurt, the thing is though, like they all take the piss out of you and they're trying to make you out like you don't know what you're talking about, but you're just trying to help them see that they're full of shit, and they all call you full of shit because they know deep down they're full of shit. That's the truth, man. Earth is not round, man. Wake up.
This horizontal chemo, this horizontal thing scares them, though. Seriously. They know they can't do it. They think they can.
Well,
I think they're really pissed off. They're like really frisky today, man. It could be the quarantine. I'm not really sure, man.
well, Jeremy, have you spoke to Soundly? He's been out there with Jesse Kozlowski, with the measuring tools, the surveying tools, and Jesse says he was able to establish this. So they do know what we mean, right?
Well, yeah, they use GPS.
Mm-hmm.
So they just got numbers where they didn't just establish it themselves. They're just trusting other people. So you got that issue with the GPS.
That's not true.
No, Jeremy, Soundly says that's not true. Right, so we can't just go around
what's not
spouting misinformation, right? Soundly, you well, go on and tell Jeremy and Raqia how we've established it.
I gave you a method in the chat, which you completely ignored. But I mean, surveyors do it every day, so
Don't do it for them.
follow their stuff.
Plumb bob.
You're gonna make a horizontal with a plumb bob.
Plumb bob.
Jeremy, they do it every day.
Yeah, they might do it over.
Rocket science. Rocket science. Got any evidence? Yes, Brad. You got any evidence? Any conclusive proof? Rocket scientists? Anyone? Anyone got any proof?
Can you
I
plumb
have
bob?
no doubt that you can make one over 3, 4, 5, 600 feet, maybe. Even then, it wouldn't be that straight. But over miles and miles, like him and Jesse claim to have done, is just preposterous.
That's not what Jesse claimed to have done. The blog that I linked. Hold on, the blog that I linked up above. Jesse has a disclaimer right at the beginning. This is not how surveying is done. You don't look over large distances. You look over short distances. And if you go look at his actual blog article, he looks over short distances.
Sally, you watch your channel yet? All your stuff's just fake. It's fake, man. You know that bridge there? It's temperature differentials. It gives it the effect of clarity.
All right, hold on a sec, Brummy.
Brummy, let me have 1 second.
Jesse shows how to. You can see the actual curvature of the Earth.
You can't see shit, man. All you can see is refraction. You've just got some refracted pictures. Put some refracted coordinates on them, and you think everyone's going to believe that?
At what distance does refraction no longer factor in?
Well, when you go to the other side of the bridge and look the other way, it looks straight. How come it only happens? All your observations are from one side to the other, not the other side, are they?
Give me 5 seconds.
I'm asking you about how at what short distance is good enough for you.
I'm on the distance. You looking at from one side of the bridge in a biased perspective because you all know that bridge has temperature. You go to the other side, man. Show me the same thing from the other side.
I have.
I think Raqia wants to ask him something. I think is that what you said?
No, give me 5 seconds. I got someone that wants to say something. Ready? It'll be over.
Yeah.
Las tierras planas.
If y'all don't know what that means.
Do it again. Do it again. A bit more clearer. What was that?
That wasn't me. That was a guy. On one of the job sites. Las tierras planas.
Yeah,
the Earth is flat.
That means the planar Earth.
So you're stupid.
Literal translation is the planar Earth.
I think I think Jeremy and Raqia would be satisfied if we could establish a horizontal, and then you can go from there. But I think they want to know how it's done. How are you doing this? Soundly. Do you have any idea what Jesse did or anything? Do you know what he did or not sure?
I mean, I gave you a method for doing it yourself, without any sophisticated tooling.
Over how long of a distance? How long of a distance?
So why don't you repeat what I sent you?
I didn't get anything.
He said he's got a document how to establish it.
Well, this is VC, and I can't read right now. So can we tell the audience how to do it, real quick?
Are you sure it's just not right now? You can't read, and not all the time.
And until he graduates.
Yeah, y'all are something, man. So
you set me up for that one. Sorry.
Right, I'll set you up for that.
Yeah. Good times.
Great times. Yeah. But can Soundly just go over it briefly, in voice, so everybody can hear? There might be some people here who's never heard it. I don't know if I've ever heard the explanation of how they establish a horizontal, other than the GPS data driving over an arced bridge getting data points over the arc.
We're not using GPS. We're not going to rely on somebody else and trust that they're telling us. That's how we got in this in the first place. I trust in other people.
But we'll have to trust soundly when he explains how they establish it, right?
He's saying it's easy. Yeah. We can do it ourselves. So if he could just explain on how we could go do it, not just say it's in chat.
No, I could just give you a generic geometric way of doing it. Okay.
Sure.
If you want
to go ahead, explain.
Establish a horizontal, create a 3, 4, 5 right triangle, make one leg point straight down, the other one's horizontal. End of conversation.
Okay. Hold on, let him finish. Let him finish. You finish, soundly?
Conversation. Yeah, he said in a conversation. How did you make one? How did you establish a straight part of that triangle? Let's say the bottom.
You have to take angles over what distance. The key.
What are you talking about? Just go create a 3, 4, 5 triangle. 3 feet by 3 feet.
On the surface of Earth.
Yeah, I do it all the time to make sure my farm is square. But how would you do that over a long distance, sir?
What are you talking about over long distance? You didn't ask me how to make a horizontal line 15 miles long. You asked me how to make a horizontal. I showed you how to make a horizontal.
Trying to figure out if the Earth is spherical. What can we do? Can I do that in my backyard? I could just make a triangle in my backyard.
Jeremy, settle down, Jeremy.
Sure, you can make a triangle in your backyard. Yes.
And that's gonna tell me if the Earth is curving or not.
No, so you guys asked how to make a horizontal line.
The piranhas are. They want answers, Sandy. That we want to establish that horizontal. I think that's the the go-to question.
Just told you how to make a horizontal line. If you don't understand that, then there is no hope for you.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You have it straight from Soundly. You're an expert.
Yeah, we know from experience that you guys don't want answers, man.
This is basic high school geometry, dude.
That's not establishing a horizontal over a distance so we can measure drop from horizontal to measure the shape of the Earth.
That wasn't what you were asking for, right?
Yeah, that's what I've been asking for 2 years. Yeah, that's what exactly.
You said how to make a horizontal line.
No, maybe you weren't here. What
do you think you want to do? What do you think we want to do with a horizontal?
You guys have been saying how to make a horizontal.
Use your head.
Yeah. After that, we want to measure the drop from horizontal, right? That's the whole purpose.
Use that. Mount a laser to it.
Yeah, you missed that point. Oh, add a laser over what distance?
Did you just tell somebody to use his head?
Yeah, soundly. What do you think we want to do with the horizontal line?
Soundly, over what distance can we use a laser?
Soundly, Jeremy cleans computers for a living.
Not very far, so that's not really a distance. That's just kind of like a generic answer.
Right.
So half a mile.
It depends on the laser, doesn't it?
Of course. Well, it was your laser, right? You brought up laser, so tell me which one you used.
I'm giving you options that you can try. There's all sorts of methods you can try.
There you go.
I told you how to
What did you do with the bridge?
Another non-answer. We're asking you what you did.
It's not a non-answer. We didn't need a horizontal line. What are you talking about? We don't need a horizontal line.
There you go.
Established drop without a horizontal.
Yeah,
wow.
There you go. If you think that you need a horizontal line to see a curvature of the Earth, then you're playing games. You're really playing.
What the fuck do you know about the shape of the Earth? Seriously, all you done took a few observations over some fucking refractive bridge that has different temperature differentials. You took
observations. I took 3 years worth of observations at different sites. For some reason, you guys want to take one frame of one video and want to talk about that for 3 years in a row and forget the 3 years worth of observations that I've done at all sorts of different sites and different locations.
3 years of strategical observations that you've taken from one side of the bridge just when it refracts the most, so it suits your little narrative. That's all you've done.
That's completely false.
It's absolutely 100% correct, man.
That's completely false.
It's completely correct.
Go look at my 3 years worth of observations and tell me I've only taken the photograph from one side.
Go to the other side of the bridge. Go to the other side of the bridge.
If you actually looked at my channel and you said I took photographs from only one side of the bridge, then you're lying to people.
I'd say he took them at different locations, but at a certain angle, and usually close to the water at a certain angle that makes it appear, a certain way. I mean, I've done the same thing. I get the same shots he does. Most of my shots overlay Pontchartrain show an apparent curve.
At what distance is not close to the water? Like at 10 feet, 20 feet?
I don't know. Y'all seem to be telling us that.
150 feet? Like, how high do I have to be for it not be close to the water?
Ask your
Soundly, we just got to check it for swap gas refraction.
That's pretty good height.
Soundly, we just got to check it for swap gas refraction. That's all.
From 150 feet. I took pictures from 400 feet.
We just gotta check it for refraction. That's all. Swamp gas refraction.
Listen, I may have took it from the other side, but you know what? We all know the temperature differentials on that bridge are probably the worst pay-taken observation for the world. Now, I've looked at different pictures of that bridge. It looks extremely straight. It only seems to be your doctored images that seems to have this curvature. It doesn't seem to happen anywhere else in the world. So I don't think you're being genuine.
You like how he makes
tell him about the wavy bridge.
Doctored. He says doctored photos. It's not doctored. Nothing's doctored.
Yeah, that's heavily slanderous there, Brummy. Soundy, how do you defend yourself? He's saying, I think his question is that you seem to only have this kind of observation from different angles and everywhere else in the world. It's not like this. So how do you respond to Brummy there, who thinks that
no one that goes there with my equipment will not see curvature.
So why don't you post up the results? You've put all the other details on there, but you know the details you missed out. What I noticed, you didn't post your temperature differentials that's been registered on over that particular part of the Pantatron bridge, or whatever it's called.
You obviously haven't watched my channel.
I've saw graphs. Well, you know what? You need to. You want to provide these little gifs. Oh no, you put these gifs in my face, and what you haven't put in my face or everyone else's face is the details. The crucial details. We see all these gifts.
Like the crucial details of the water temperature and air temperature based on
it changes all day.
And weather stations over the water.
Yeah.
And a graph of those changing during the day. And
he did a lot. He did a live stream for me.
I want to see the maximum. I want to see.
Oh wait, yeah, I did do that. My bad.
I want to see the maximum and minimum demand. So I want to see the maximum refraction and the least refraction you're going to get, reverse lumen or whatever you're going to call it. So I want to see the maximum and the minimum, and I want to compare them images rather than you give me GPS ones. You've made everything else very convenient that suits your narrative, but what you haven't made very convenient for everybody is the stuff that contradicts your observation. So I've
actually photographed on those days that you're talking about and released them to my channel, so you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but you don't give the time. You haven't given the atmospheric conditions for the day.
I did the exact atmospheric conditions.
What you know, what you've missed out.
Yes, I did.
I'll get it.
Brummy, what's in it? What's in it for Soundy? Why is he lying? What's in it for him?
Why is he lying? Because
you just haven't seen my channel, dude.
Obviously, there's only certain times he can make these observations, and he conveniently puts all these observations in that suit his narrative. But I'm pretty sure there's observations he's taken that day that obviously contradicts what he's showing to people, but he didn't show them people. Like now, I can always look at little gifs and little examples of what he's done. But what he doesn't do is also put the observations where it really is refracting the opposite way or giving you the opposite effect. He's only showing you what suits his narrative, not what's against it.
Yeah, it's just false.
I mean, yeah.
Well, to be fair, hang on. To be fair, I'm gonna be on Soundly's side here. To be fair, 99% of the time that I go there, the conditions dictate that you're gonna be obscured. Like your vision is not gonna be as clear as it needs to be, and things are gonna appear to disappear bottom up, just like the I think that's Soundly's. Hang on, Brummy. I think that's Soundly's power line picture there. So as you see as the top appears to start to curve down, and the bottom appears to disappear, we call that the refraction line. It's in whatever it's doing.
Show me a maximum and a minimum. Show me maximum demand, minimum demand of the different sorts of levels of refraction, and put them two together. I want to see them rather than giving me a nice, convenient picture of some GPS coordinates. I want to see some nice, convenient pictures and GIFs of the maximum and minimum, and see the difference that they change, and also correlated with the temperature changes. Because when I looked at that bridge myself, it doesn't seem to show me what it's trying to show in.
Okay, you're making some demand. I'd like to ask Soundly if this is Earth curve right here.
Hold on a second. Let me just state this for the record. I literally took Noah's buoys, and I took the weather temperatures from weather stations around Lake Pontchartrain, and I predicted. I said, okay, on such and such a date, or on this date, I'm predicting that if I go out there today, I'm going to see sinking conditions. So I went out there, took photographs, came back, talked about it on a live stream. Had sinking conditions. There was another date where I said, okay, based on these conditions, I'm going to have looming conditions. So I went out there, took photographs, had looming conditions, and came back in and showed the photographs. In both cases, I showed exactly what you're asking for, the minimum and the maximum. And in both cases, they showed the what is it, Lake Wave Center?
Yeah.
hidden by the curvature of the earth.
Well, how come I haven't seen it then? How come everything else has been shoved in
Because
my
you
face?
haven't looked at my channel.
Wait. I agree with everything you just said, except hidden by the curvature of the earth.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. But I mean, the observation shows the hidden building.
Everything else has
The
been shoved in
bottom
my
of the
face,
building
and
is
you said-
hidden. Yeah.
Everything else has been shoved in my face, and what you're saying is goes to you trying to watch through fucking hours and hours of tirelessly unentertained. All right, you're handsome.
If you're going to make the claim that this stuff isn't there, then yes, you absolutely need to do that.
Well,
you can't just say it isn't there, and then when he says, well, it is there, say, oh, well, I can't be bothered to go and watch it. You've got too much stuff.
Yeah, all I'm saying is just don't lie about me.
No, I think the data
I'm just saying
is
don't
there.
lie about me. That's all.
Yeah, I
You don't
think
have
the
to go watch
data
it.
is there. I just think it's being, you
So,
know,
like, your
saying
expectations
it's
of flat
Earth
earthers are
curve.
way too high.
Yeah, we're not
Can
disputing the
we
data.
discuss
He's
this
got it
picture?
all there. Yeah, we know that, but we know the cause is not curvature.
Can I discuss this picture with Soundly that I'm sure he has all the data on? I mean, I'm not doubting that he did the work. What I'm doubting is he's attributing this curvature of this bridge to Earth curve, and what we're doing is showing that it's refracted. You can see it in your own picture, right?
Yeah.
Tell us where the refraction starts.
I don't know what picture you're talking about.
I just posted it. That's what I was just saying.
What number? What
349 under raqia.
Sound how can you just say it's refraction, working the opposite direction?
Well, refraction is a loose term. He knows what I'm talking about. He can tell us what exactly it is. He just stated looming. He can predict looming and sinking, so he can tell us what it's doing. Obviously, he's good at what he does, no doubt.
But sound like
you can actually see a little bit of like if you look at the very end of the towers, you can see the refraction pulling up the very end of the towers.
What
you
about
see how the curve isn't quite smooth at the very end?
Yeah, what about where the stilts, where the towers are connected down at the water? That little white, is that a boat or something? Right about there, it starts getting really compressed. I'm going to call it compressed. That's the only term I know. They start getting closer and closer together, and that's where it appears to start, doing what it's doing. Whether it's Earth curve or just total miraging or refraction or whatever. I'm going to say it's due to atmospheric conditions because that's what we're seeing here. You're starting to lose the image, the information, and lo and behold, that's where it appears to start curving, or that's where the bulge appears to be. You can see the waves, like the distortion, the disturbance starts a little bit further down, but the discoloration of the water starts a little further up. And I wanted to ask you also, we've established what stacking is. Is this picture stacked? Because the pylons closest to us look like they've been enhanced, like the color has been enhanced. I just wanted to know if this particular picture has been stacked.
That looks like YouTube color enhancement. Where'd you get this video from?
I want to say it's yours. It says Soundly Lake Pontchartrain above it. Now that's why I was asking you if this is your picture. It says Soundly Lake
Pontchartrain. It definitely looks like one of my earlier pictures that I took with the Canon Rebel.
I might have went on your site and just took snapshots or whatever, but what I'm asking is this, do you remember if this particular picture is stacked? Because the watercolor and the colors of the
There's some type
pylons.
of color correction going on there. I don't think it's stacked though. I don't think that one's stacked.
Okay, so just color correction, like the colors manipulated, get kind of funky right before that boat, and then right at the boat it gets worse, and then past it gets really bad. Now the Earth curve is not blocking that yet. Like that's still on this side of the what I would call the bulge, but yet it's disappearing and appears to be compressed to me. Would you agree?
No, it matches exactly what we expect to see on a globe.
I didn't mention anything about that, right? I'm just saying.
You said it's on this side of the bulge, and that's incorrect.
No, what I'm saying is you can see distance in between the two pylons, and as it gets close to the boat, you can't see any distance. So that tells me it's being compressed, right? Am I wrong?
I don't know what you mean by compress. I mean,
what's y'all's term? It's your term.
No, I've actually said multiple times that anytime you say lens compression, that's a misnomer.
So it's just perspective. It's just perspective. Exactly. Okay, so we'll switch to perspective. Fair enough. I think that's what it is too. I just thought that was a term that y'all used as experts. Compressed perspective is what I heard from you and M. Scott B.
Perspective compression or lens compression are both misnomers.
Okay, but they are used, right, in the industry?
Photographers use those terms.
And you're taking pictures here as a photographer, right?
I guess so, yeah. But I wouldn't use those terms. Yeah.
So this would just be perspective.
Because photographers don't understand that flat earthers are going to take the work and upper compression.
Okay,
in this
fair enough. Fair enough. I don't want to argue that point. So this is just perspective where the ceiling appears to drop down and the floor appears to rise up. Would you agree that's pretty much what perspective is in layman's terms?
Not really, but I guess you could use that.
It converges to a point or appears to. It actually doesn't. So we see some of that here, right? You're agreeing that we see perspective in this picture, right?
Of course. You always see perspective in every picture.
I agree. And we always see refraction, which is also in this picture, correct?
Of course, yeah.
And would the combination of the two under these conditions maybe create what we're seeing here without earth curve?
No.
Why not?
Because refraction doesn't work to that extent.
Gotcha. That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you, sir.
Especially in clear conditions. But
clear, what do you mean by clear? You mean up close? You mean clear as in where you enhance the photo here, like the color? You mean by that clear, or by the day was clear right here, like 5 miles out? What about 20 miles out?
What people mean by good seeing conditions, this isn't 5 miles out, that's 16 miles out.
Yeah, I have a video that's called the Ghost Boat, and it's very clear day, right? About 5 miles, it's as clear as it gets. But when you zoom out to like 12, 15 miles, it's terrible, right? It gets really bad. So you can't say it's a clear day just by looking at the first couple miles. Would you agree?
There are good seeing conditions where you can see 20 miles easily.
I agree with that. But over water, over Lake Pontchartrain, do you usually get that typically?
Yeah.
At this level?
Pretty often, yeah. I'd say so.
Pretty often, you would say. How often? Like 1 out of 5?
There's generally a time period during the day, if you time it correctly, where the water temperature and the air temperature will be about the same temperature. You can get decent seeing conditions during that time.
So maybe when they turn all the chemicals
in broad sunlight.
Would you say that particular?
If you have an overcast day, it's even easier because that window is a lot wider, so you have more time to take photographs. But I want to go back to that picture you were talking about. The very top of the transmission lines are also curving. Those aren't down near the water line. Are you going to claim that is also some sort of refraction that's occurring there?
No, I think we introduced perspective into this picture, right? Into every picture.
Perspective doesn't cause straight lines to curve.
Right, and I'm not saying it does. I'm just saying that if you introduce perspective and refraction, then you might get something that at this angle, right? Because there's another power line that runs north to south that doesn't seem to be in any of your videos, because from this angle, when you shoot that power line, you can't see any curve.
What you talking about?
The other power line when you're standing on I-55 bridge taking this photograph right here.
The one that goes down towards the casino.
It runs north to south more. This one runs east, west.
I have videos of that curvature as well.
Yeah, on certain days. What about it?
Actually went out into the water on the other side of it so you can see it.
Yeah, at that angle. I'm talking about at this angle, right? When you're at this angle taking this shot.
You can't even look down that line from that angle.
Yes, I know. But at the angle, at the angle that you're taking this shot from, when you go over to that power line, shouldn't you be able to see curve there too? I mean, that's a long way. A lot of curve, sir.
You can if you get in line with it, but you can't get in line with that line from that location.
So at a certain angle is what you're saying.
Well, you got to be in line with it so you can get all the towers inside the frame.
Or where maybe perspective is taking full effect.
Okay. Perspective doesn't cause straight lines to curve. So you need to come up with a different word or something.
Well, it causes the ceiling to go down towards a point and the floor to appear to go up, right? And then you can have some mirroring and miraging and looming. And what was the other term you used? Sinking? You can have all that happening on Lake Pontchartrain. You've seen it all, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Sinking tower.
What about combinations of there above? You think that's possible? Yeah, like the first 5 miles, you might be a little looming. The second 5 miles, you might see something else. And the third 5 miles, you might see both. Like a combination of. Think that's possible?
Well, combinations is how you get the inferior mirages. When you see the reflections and stuff like that, that's combinations.
I got you. So on this day, do you remember if the spillway was open?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I got you. So you have no idea if cold water was entering the very warm water of Lake Pontchartrain. I got you.
How can the spillway from that's 24 miles away affect anything with my photograph?
Well, no, it's not 24 miles. The spillway might be, but where the water enters Lake Pontchartrain is right underneath your feet when you're taking this picture. It rushes. It's like a current that comes through there.
I've been there. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I know you have. 3 years. We've heard. So you would know
that hurts. I've actually literally been there when the spillway was pouring in, and
Right. Have you ever rode a P-row through it?
You see,
or a Go Devil?
Actually, I took a kayak.
Yeah, must not have been flowing too good. That's why I asked. So Go Devils are much funner. We'll take you duck hunting there one time. But a lot of cold water comes down from the north through the Mississippi, comes through the spillway, floods all the rice fields and crawfish fields, and then comes into Lake Pontchartrain, mixes with the warm water, and creates a thermosphere. Then you got the airport right there, which you would agree that particulates fall down in the air right there and maybe cause some optical illusion, effects right there. Plus about 30 or 40 chemical plants within sight, plus a big shipping yard that's all up and down the Mississippi with huge ships that come up there and dock and spew all their mess into the air.
Raqia, I could be losing my mind, but this sounds like the worst place in the world to take long-range observations.
No, I actually think it's the second worst. I think the worst place B-Ball found with all the turbulent water, he's shooting over at 8 feet. But this is one of the worst, I promise you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying his work isn't diligent, right? He put in the work in the hours.
It's the only place in the world with the longest straight rope bridge in the world, which makes it a good place.
Yeah, except for like the I-55 bridge that's right behind it, right north, is almost as long. And man,
that would be in the same place and wouldn't solve your problem of it being the worst place in the world.
We have so many straight bridges here, it's ridiculous.
It's a good thing
but they're there, and your problem is they're there. So that doesn't solve your problem.
Well, they're over turbulent water that mixes hot and cold, brackish and salt, the plants, all the particulates in the air, the airport, all the highways and cars and all that, shipping channels that create just a disturbed optical, place. It's
a persistent optical effect caused by all these random things, is what you're saying. And I've yet to see you prove any of what you're claiming right now. You're just implying a bunch of stuff.
Well, the experts prove it for me.
The excuses, basically.
No, I'm no expert, right? But the experts say this would probably be, if I told an expert, hey, buddy, what we're going to do is try and go shoot some pictures. But what I want to do is I want to shoot it over water that's mixing hot and cold, brackish and salt, around a bunch of chemical plants in the airport and a bunch of freeways, a bunch of shipping channels. But I want a real clear picture. I want to get a real realistic view of what we're doing here. And I want to do it over 20 miles. What do you say, buddy? Expert? And he's gonna laugh, right?
No.
He's gonna say, he's gonna say, this is what he's gonna say. I'm not putting my name, I wouldn't put my name on that crap.
It's possible. I'm the one
that's what an expert would say.
It's possible.
Well, you don't know what an expert would say.
That's what an expert would say. He would say, I'm not putting my name on that. I'm not putting my name on that.
You don't know that.
They're going to pick the better place.
You don't know that at all in any way. You're just restating your opinion and pretending it's from an expert.
No, I'm restating what I've seen.
Raqia, all you're saying is that I'm capable of capturing photographs better than experts. That's all you're saying right now.
No, I'm saying that you couldn't have picked a worse place to put your name on something and basically your whole worldview.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a good thing that's not the only place to photograph, right?
No, I agree. You went to Henderson Lake, which is also a swamp place over interstate with lots of traffic. And filmed at a certain and you went to the Salton Sea or whatever. I haven't seen that as much of that work. You don't seem to use that as much.
No, I don't use anything. You guys keep bringing up a single frame from a single video for some reason.
Okay.
You've done this over many, many, many days, and you got many images, don't you? It's not like you've just got the one image of Lake Pontchartrain.
No, I have like.
Funny enough, although the atmosphere changes hour by hour, 90% of his photos show the same thing. That's funny, ain't it?
Because the Earth is curved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's curved.
Yeah,
And
what about
it's
the
because
atmosphere
all of your atmospheric effect excuses don't work? Then do they?
So they don't work at Lake Pontchartrain, but they work everywhere else.
No, they don't work everywhere else. They don't work anywhere. They're just
Oh, yeah?
made up ad hoc bullshit that you just
Okay.
made
I
up
think
on
I
the
may-
spot and then
Now that
pretended
Jim
an
has stepped in
expert
with
said it.
Now that Jim has stepped in to put in his expert opinion, I think I'm done here. Y'all have a good day.
I've done it in Bay St. Louis. I've done